And with that, Mr. Hanna is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Hanley, first of all, I'm an operating engineer, 35 years. Right? I've spent a lifetime in
Good morning, brother.
bad equipment. I want to ask you something. You know, I agree with you. States are having good outcomes in asking for additional money for transit. You are absolutely right. The age of between 18 and 34, people are driving increasingly less. We see for the first time in the last 10 years numbers, miles per person in that age group are declining. We know that that's why the Highway Trust Fund is in trouble, the diesel tax and the excise tax and the gasoline tax, which I guess on gas transit gets about 2.8%. I also know that people who use mass transit are not all poor. I've been in New York City. I'm a New Yorker. You know, a lot of wealthy people that ride the transit. It's a great way to get around, and increasingly, as you said, 35 million people a day load themselves, and your union does a great job of getting people where they want to go safely. Why doesn't that lead you to the conclusion that people who take mass transit should not pay something to the Federal Government towards that? Because basically now, those people who you say are spending money on gas and diesel, they're subsidizing, for lack of a better word, they're subsidizing mass transit, and there's no quid pro quo in reverse. Yet you're here asking for additional money, which I fully understand. But why shouldn't this? Part of the problem and the difficulty on this committee is exactly as you identify. We need to have a conversation about how to pay this. Why shouldn't ridership be part of that when not everybody is disadvantaged who rides mass transit all across this country? And increasingly, it's just the opposite.
Where is Warren Buffett when you need him? It's true that in major cities like Washington and New York and Chicago, we have a much more mixed clientele with respect to who rides transit. And certainly there are very wealthy people who ride transit every day. There are also very poor people who have no choice but to ride transit. I recently had—
But poor people own cars, too.
Well, let me tell you a story. I was recently involved in a nonpartisan voter turnout operation in Cleveland. And I was actually on a van that picked up a voter who had to go 1.5 miles from her house uphill on a terrible day to vote. And when she got on, she said, "Thank you." And I said, no, come on, we're happy to take you up. No, thank you. She says, "You know, I own a car."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah." She says, "But I can't afford the gas." Now, this was in a housing project, by the way.
But isn't that a case for you to say to her, part of your gas tax is going towards this?
Oh, yeah. No,
and you're riding mass transit, therefore you're not paying for it? I mean, how do you justify that transfer of taxes? It's a simple question. I don't need an anecdote.
Okay.
What I need to know is why specifically do you think people who ride mass transit have no obligation to pay what other people in this country pay through their gas tax, diesel, and excise tax?
No.
I'm not advocating
They do
anything.
pay. They do pay. They pay huge fares. They pay income taxes. They pay real estate taxes that all fund transit. It's not as if transit riders are getting a free ride.
But
more
the Federal
significantly,
Government subsidizes them, but we do not. The people who use the rest of the transportation system have historically paid directly,
but that's a myth.
unsubsidized.
That's a myth. The fact is that the subsidy per rider is much less than the subsidy per car owner in America, if you want to look at all the different subsidies that go into roads, highways, bridges, et cetera. And that's not to take away from the importance of them.
But there is no payment on the part of people who use mass transit back to the Federal Government. Yet there is with gas and diesel and excise.
Well, they pay Federal taxes. That's what they do.
We
they
all
pay income taxes. Pardon me?
We all pay Federal taxes if we're in a bracket that allows us to do that.
Okay. But
so you really don't have an answer for that question?
Well, I don't have a 30-second answer. There's a long, complicated answer that absolutely justifies huge increases in Federal investment in transit. We'd be happy to have that discussion with you in writing or personally.
My time's expired. Thank you.